Hello, everyone. Welcome to the NAAFA webinar series. I am Tigress Osborne, the Director of Community Outreach for NAAFA. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, NAAFA is the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance. We are a 51-year-old fat rights organization working towards equality at every size. We do that through advocacy, education, community building, and we do that primarily in the United States, although we support our friends who are activists all over the world. We have a very special guest today, author and influencer Leah Vernon. I'm going to introduce you to Leah and tell you all about her in just a second. But before we do that, just a couple of brief announcements. First of all, if you need to learn more about NAAFA, we encourage you to visit our website at naafa.org, NAAFA.org. We have recently updated our website, so it's much more mobile friendly, and we introduced a new blog beginning on October Voices, so please check out our community voice, beginning on October 1st. Please check out our Community Voices blog to learn about things that are happening in fat community, things that we're doing in NAAFA, to meet the new four new members of our board of directors, and to see what we've got coming up later this month and plans that we have for the future. The NAAFA webinar series, which you are participating in now, is happy to be bringing you 2 more webinars in October. So we've had a full month. We recently had model and influencer Adida Valle, and you can see that webinar on our website or on YouTube. We've also got coming up the founder of NAAFA, Bill Fabry, who will be joining us on October 15th, and author and scholar Dr. Joy Cox, who will be joining us on October 25th to talk about her new book, Fat Girls in Black Bodies. If you like what you are seeing from us in terms of these webinars or in terms of our other programming, we are an all-volunteer organization. We are able to bring you this programming through the generous support of our members and other supporters. If you would like to contribute to those efforts, please do so by visiting us at naafa.org and finding our join or donate page. And with no further ado, I would like to introduce you to the incredible Leah Vernon. Leah is an international hijabi social media influencer, the award-winning author of Unashamed, Musings of a Fat Black Muslim. Leah is also a motivational speaker, educator, and content creator. Her content has garnered over 1 million views combined. I think that might be an old statistic because I feel like I've seen 1 million things from Leah myself, so I feel like it might be way more than 1 million. So let's say 1 million and counting. And she has been featured in hundreds of media platforms, from the New York Times to BuzzFeed. You can learn more about Leah on her own website, www.leahvernon.com. Ladies and gentlemen and friends of all gens, Leah Vernon. Leah, thank you for joining us today.
Virtual applause.
Virtual applause all around the room. Y'all can't see if you're watching at home, but I can see virtual applause all around the Zoom room. Leah, what is this bio that I read missing? What else do folks need to know about you?
I think that people need to know that I'm 100% petty. No, I'm only 50% petty, but I think people need to know that there's definitely I think a lot behind the bio. Sometimes we read these bios and we get all these accolades, but we don't necessarily, or individuals who are getting all these accolades don't necessarily show the struggle to get that and all the sacrifices. If with all those accolades and things, there's definitely a lot of trauma, harshness, anti-Blackness, Islamophobia, just all types of stuff and sacrifices that has gotten me to that point. So there's a lot of different layers and complexities there, which people don't like to add when they're, being gassed up. So I'd like to make sure people understand that it's definitely a human behind the brand.
How long have you been building your brand? We're going to get to more of the human parts of you, but let's have folks who don't know you know a little bit more about your brand.
So I rebranded for Leah V, because I think Leah is a little bit basic name. So I rebranded as Leah V in 2013. That's when I first started just kind of like taking pictures on my Android. It wasn't meant to be the way it is now. I thought that I would be behind the scenes, making thin women feel beautiful for the camera. And so people kept like asking me like, oh my God, like, are you a model? Like, are you a designer? I would just go places and people would always ask me this question. I was like, no, honey, I'm just a normal person. I'm just, you know, I'm just behind the scenes. And
So was it just that your personal style was just magnetizing people to you, and so
yes,
they assumed that you were the one who was supposed to be in front of the camera?
exactly. And so, and even like just without the personal style, when I would like dress down, people would like always kind of shut up when I started talking, which I thought was so interesting. I'm just like, okay. And I didn't know my own power. So I kind of been through like this whole phase of like modeling, not wanting to model, trying to figure out, do I want to be a writer, an influencer, like what, like who is Leah V in this world that's very ridiculous for the most part. And so, yeah, I've been doing this since 2013. Rebranded a couple times, got divorced. And that kind of put me on the map as me getting divorced and me being like, you know what? I'm 100% doing this. Like, I'm 100% doing this.
Getting divorced is kind of the ultimate rebrand, isn't it?
It is. I'm just like, oh no. And like, yeah. And that whole situation was really interesting. But yeah, so basically I'm from Detroit. I moved to New York a year and a half ago to continue my career and make connections here, get signed to agencies. But yeah, I always tell people that I'm basically an author, a speaker. I'm a body positive activist, fat activist, and hijabi plus size model. So I wear a lot of hats, but
One of the things that attracted me to you was your unapologetic use of the word fat. And, you know, I first learned about NAAFA when I was a teenager in the 90s in college. There was a woman who worked at my college who was a member of NAAFA, and I had never heard of people using the word fat to just describe themselves without that being an insult. And, you know, and then flash forward several decades, I was in Palabra's bookstore, which is a bilingual bookstore here in the Phoenix area. And she had a copy of your book on display. And I was like, these are my people. Like, here's another one, right? When did you first start using the word fat unapologetically to describe yourself and to define yourself?
right. So I mean, like you and probably many others in the chat today, I used to allow the word fat, among other words, to crumble me. I'm a Leo, and I'm very alpha. Extremely. And so I am that person, okay, to like, you know, just like lay it out. And so I welcome challenges. So if you coming at me with something, we're gonna finish it, right? That's the kind of person I am. And so I noticed like when I was arguing with somebody or going off with somebody because they wanted to challenge me, they'd be like, you ain't nothing but a fat bitch. And I'd be like, oh my God, this is the end of the world. And it would be this whole situation where the word would just crumble me. It would not, like, that's all you had to say. Like, I could have been winning the conversation. I could have been getting it. Once they called me fat or fat bitch, I would like, just like be speechless. And that happened for like decades. It happened for a long time. And at some point I was just like trying to figure out through like just Instagram hashtags body positivity and seeing different models. I'm just like, why is this word so hurtful to me? Why does this word take, you know, alpha Leo, Leah V, and crumble her to like, you know, scared kitty at the pound in the corner shaking? Like, why does this word do this to you? And I think at that point where I'm just like, what would happen if I reclaim that shit? And I started calling myself fat, not like every day, but I would like sprinkle it, you know, on this post, sprinkle it on that post. And my friends would be like, oh my God, you're calling yourself fat. And I would get all these like different negative, especially from straight size individuals. Just like they'd be like, don't call yourself fat. Like, you're not fat, you're thick, you're this, you're not sloppy fat. And I'm just like, whoa. Fat is fat is fat is fat, and I am that, and that's okay. And so I think at that point, when I started to see that other people were so threatened by it, and I had let that go, when I was like, oh, I'm definitely gonna keep that. And so that's been my tagline for a long time. It's even in my, you know, my memoir. I'm just like, that has to be in there. That has to be in there. And I want to reclaim that word. I want others to reclaim it as well.
Were there people who tried to talk you out of that as the title of your memoir? because it's a provocative title, right? This is the cover of the book, everyone, and it is literally called Musings of a Fat Black Muslim. And people will try to talk you out of publicly claiming any of those three things. In fact, in preparing to interview you, I saw, comments from people who were like, why would she claim those? Those are three bad things to be. Mm-hmm. Those are three bad things to be.
Exactly.
So were there conversations when you were thinking about, I mean, clearly we know your stance, right? Because the boldest word on here is unashamed. Unashamed. But did people try to talk you out of that as the title for your memoir?
I think because they kind of already knew I was so deeply rooted in that, in using this language towards myself, I think that they weren't going to fight it that much. I did have some people try to nicely be like, oh, let's explore other titles. I'm just like, no, that has to be in there some way. So figure that out.
Musings of a plus size African-American non-Christian.
If they would have, like I said before, I'm very, very, I don't really like when people try to change what I do. That really which is why I'm a freelancer and I can't work for other people, because I'm not a group person. I don't want you telling me what to do. I put something, I make it, you sell it. That's it. And so I think with that mentality, I'm going to market the fuck out of it. Don't worry about that. But I needed to be a certain kind of way for me to stand behind it. And so I went into the negotiations yo, some stuff y'all not about to change. That's it. And my agent was like, oh my God. I was like, it is. And I told her before she signed me, I said, I am not the easiest person to work with, but I am most rewarding. So you take that as you take that as how you take it. And she's like, okay. And she, so people mess with it. But like I said before, there are certain things that I need to do when my name is on something, my face is on something. It has to be a certain kind of way. And I felt like having fat, black, and Muslim on there would be such a rebellious, just middle finger to society that I'm going to add all of that shit. And I'm reclaiming all of it.
All of it. And so the book has been out for almost a year now. You're coming up on your 1-year anniversary.
I am.
And how has this book changed your life, or has it changed your life?
So I don't know. It was so much it's so much that went into that book. I done lost a whole ass man, done lost friendships of 20 years, gave so much of myself, it's so much that I think we look at a book or something like that, or a film or someone's career, and we'd be like, oh, that's the end result of something much bigger that you will never be able to see or experience. And so I think that the book has definitely changed me in many ways. Like I said before, I've lost people. My mom has not spoken to me since the book has been out. We were always rocky, but we were just building a little bit more at that point. We kind of got back together, and then I invited her to the book release party, and she made excuses not to come. And I'm just like, I'm not going to keep doing this where it's you're not proud of me and my accomplishments. And so we haven't talked since the book has come out. I'm quite sure she either knows there are stories about there inside of the book, or, my mom is very much so what will other people think mentality. So she is probably knows, or she's heard NPR interviews about it when they've asked me about her and our relationship. So I'm quite sure she's mad about it. So, I haven't talked to her. My ex, I heard, got wind of some of the stories in the books, and his dumb sisters. And so, people have had mixed things to say about it, but at the end of the day, it's my truth. I am mostly proud of it. I stand by the work, and I felt like it was such a release for me to write something like that and put it out there, because a lot of people wasn't expecting, because I'm a hijabi or Muslim, they're expecting some surface shit. And I kept telling people, if I write something, I have 2 masters in creative writing, I've written other books before this, I'm not playing with y'all. And they thought oh, it's gonna be nice little Muslim pastel, white passing Muslim girl. And I'm like, no, we're about to get really raw in this bitch. And people weren't expecting that. And so I like that people are really feeling the rawness and the intensity of the book, and I stand by it.
So when I reached out to you to say that, to introduce myself and to say that I had chosen this book as one of our fall readings for NAAFA. You said it's going to be a situation, but it'll be a good one. How has this book been a situation for groups of readers who weren't quite ready for it?
Of course, so in the beginning of, when you're just sending the book out, the publisher sending the book out, it's for people to give reviews prior to it being released. And the first review I got was from a white woman. And she really upset me because she tried to say something about me being too, in a nutshell, she was saying that I was too much, that I was basically doing too much. And I'm just like, it took me everything not to even respond to this comment, because like, how dare you as a white woman tell a Black woman that they're doing too much and that their narrative is not valid. So I gotten comments like that where people are like, she's doing too much. I've gotten comments from Muslims who also say the same thing. They're like she's putting too much out there. She's adding to Islamophobia. Like, Muslims are already attacked, and now she's adding to it. I've gotten a lot of comments like that where I just, again, don't understand how people don't understand that this is my truth. I wasn't trying to write this book where it's like, I want everyone to think that this is how all Muslims and all fat people and Black girls act. This is like my own narrative. I've never wanted to be the poster girl or token for anybody. And unfortunately, as a person of color or marginalized individual, you're always tokenized. But I find it really interesting that white men are never tokenized. Like, if one white man does something, shoots up a school or does something, it's not like, oh, all white men shoot up schools or carry guns outside to scare people. But if a Black girl does something, or a Muslim, oh my God, they're all terrorists. Oh my God, they're all, it's very interesting how I have to be, and the marginalized people in this group have to be tokenized and poster child. And for them, it's just like, oh, that was it. That was like a small incident.
That was my rugged individualism.
Right. And it's like, so I want that same energy. This is my narrative. And yeah, there's some wild shit in there. Not even gonna lie. And like, it wasn't easy for me to write that stuff either. Like I didn't even want this book to be published, actually. Like, originally it was never supposed to be published. So.
Was it something you had written for yourself, like just working through your life, or a project for your MFA? Or like, when you say you wrote this book, but you didn't want it to be published, why did you write it?
Well, so one of the stories, the abortion story, which I think is a little bit in the beginning, where I'm kind of taking you through like my early marriage and stuff like that, and me being a young Muslim girl. That was, I think, the first essay I wrote for a nonfiction class that I didn't even want to take to get my master's program. And I wrote that, and people were blown away by it. And I wrote it to kind of get it off my chest, because I had kept the secret for 10 years. Like, it was a secret abortion. No one, like, literally only like maybe one of my friends knew about it. And I quickly grazed over it. I was like, yeah, I had an abortion. That's it. Like, it wasn't like I didn't talk about the feelings again. Like, I didn't talk about, and I was very traumatized by that. And I had to, like, it was eating away at me for some reason. And I had to like get therapy and stuff like that. But I had never outwardly said anything about it. So that essay actually won me the Guild Award. And I was just like, oh, this is a sign. Maybe I start, writing other things. But of course, as a marginalized artist or freelancer, nobody's paying us. And so I was like, I gotta get a job. And so then the divorce happened. And I was just like, you know what? I need to like let all this negative shit out. I want to get this out of my heart. So I'm gonna put all the stories that have affected me, whether it's my dad like being abusive emotionally, my mom divorcing 20 times, getting married to men like left and right, whether it's like my ex telling me that I'm not enough, no one will ever love me, white people saying that, you're too angry, you're too this, you're too that. I was like, I want to put all that down on paper. I want to release that from me. And so in 3 months of crying and writing and crying and naps and writing and snacks, I had a whole memoir, but I put it away. So, yeah.
So how did you get from the I put it in a drawer point to the I got an agent and a publisher point?
I was working a job as a teacher because I couldn't afford to. I mean, you know how publishing goes. Like, it's not really money in it. And then if it is, it's like later on down the line.
I'm
And
sorry, can you say that again? Because I have people on a regular basis say to me, you are such a good writer. I don't understand why you're working these jobs that you're writing. Why don't you
yeah,
just write a book and then you
yeah,
won't
there's
have to talk
not.
about this anymore?
Yeah, I think people have a skewed version of what getting a book deal means, especially now. If you're not a celebrity, like you're not gonna, your advance might be 2,500, 5,000, maybe 15K on a good day. Okay. And also they give you that in like in bits and pieces. So they'll give you like 1/3 here, 1/3 there, 1/3 over a year and a half. You can't live off that. You know what I mean? That's if you get a deal. And I think people think that it's just like once you get a book deal, it's like, oh my God, I made it, I'm done. If you're not a celebrity person, that's people not checking for you like that. And so they're
So
not.
I want to, sorry to interrupt you, Leah, but I want to remind you, this audience that is with us live today, an audience that is watching this later on YouTube, because we do compensate our guests for their appearances on the NAAFA webinar series. But we are a small and member-funded organization, so that compensation is as generous as we can afford it to be, but it is not something Leah is going to live off of for the rest of her life. And so we do encourage those of you who are supporters of the arts and supporters of activists and supporters of our advocates for fat visibility and fat rights to also, if you are able, support those artists and activists directly. And we are going to provide you with information about how to show your generosity and support and gratitude to Leah for the work that she does for our community, by providing you with her direct giving links. Those will be in the chat for you. If you are with us live today, they will be in the caption on the YouTube video. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just want to make sure people know, like, you didn't get, it's 1 year and you sold a lot of books, over 500,000 copies, right?
That's very nice of you to say. No.
Oh, well, okay. Well, let me put that out in the universe. We're going to try to get Leah to over 500,000 copy sales of this book. I thought I had read that on Amazon, but I hate Amazon, so I didn't stay on there very long.
I am dead. No, that would be amazing. I wish.
So we're going to try to, community, this is your assignment. We're going to try to get Leah over 500,000 copies sold of this book. And in the meantime, we're going to try to offer Leah our support, because it is very hard to make a living as a writer, especially if you are a writer from marginalized backgrounds who's not getting, and 3 marginalized backgrounds?
Girl.
So, okay, now continue with your story. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
please continue.
I forgot where we were going with it. Where were we going?
Where we were going is how you got from I put it in the drawer to I got it published.
Yeah. So what happened is that was like, okay, I'm gonna put it away because I wrote 3 novels prior to this book. So I'm actually like, I'm sitting on like a shit ton of stuff, and those never came to fruition. Nobody in LA or New York wanted my other books, and it's like a multicultural dystopian, right, in sci-fi. So nobody wanted them. I was like, I'm so angry. And so I knew that with this book, it would probably be the same. Like, I would shop it around, hoping that I would get a hit and nobody, would want it. So I was like, I'm gonna put it in the drawer, leave it alone, let it simmer, whatever. And so I went to work as a adjunct professor at a very uppity community college. And I did not really care for that. I feel like the students were sucking out all of my creative juices. And I was like, okay, I'm not making a lot of money. These students, it was a lot of white male students, and they were like bothering me. Like, I wore a Black Lives Matter hoodie to one of my classes, and one of the white male students was like, what does Black Lives Matter mean? And I knew where this was going. I knew where this was going. I said, you know what, Daniel? So I'm the teacher in this class. I'm the professor and the one who's educating you guys in this class. I said, remember that I'm the one that gives you a final grade. Remember that. I said, now, do you want to ask that question again? He's like, no, thank you. I said, okay, turn to page 12. I'm not playing these games with y'all. And so I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. And I said, oh, dear God, universe, whatever you believe in, please send me a sign that I should try to shop this book around. And like I said, I won the Gilder Award, and I was like, it came with a little money, came with like a 5K prize. I was like, I'm going to LA. I'm going to figure out this lifestyle. And I was sending out my pitches and my everything. And in 24 hours, I'm not kidding you, 12 agents. I've never had it happen before. 24 hours, like 10, 11, 12 agents were like, yo, what's up with it? Like, we want it. And I'm just like, oh my God, what do I do with all this attention? Because nobody wanted my other books. And so the rest was history.
And so, so let's talk a little bit about let's go backwards a little bit, because I said we do want to talk about the human behind the brand. Right. And I want to make sure we have time to do that. And while we're doing that, folks who are here with us live, if you have questions, you can go ahead and start putting those in the chat. We'll start taking your questions in just a few minutes. But before you get to that moment when you're in LA and 12 agents are beating down your door to tell your story, we're like, you're a fat Black Muslim girl in Detroit. What did you think your life was going to be when you grew up?
Honestly, like, I didn't think it was going to be too much. I thought perhaps I would get married, probably. Maybe after like my college, because I got a business degree. So I thought perhaps like I'd be like a manager at some company and be forced to have kids. Like, I never really wanted kids, but I would assume, I mean, men want kids. So I was like, okay, you know, maybe get a house or something. Like, I never thought that, of course, like my dream was like to be a writer and travel and do fun things. But like, I knew that people who looked like me from where I came from never got that opportunity to do that. And so that was never in the cards for what I'm doing right now. I don't think baby Leah V would ever think that I would be in the storefronts of Torrid or like in Target or like doing commercials in London. People are like, oh my God, like I just saw you after the X Factor. Like I just literally saw you on TV on a commercial in Europe. Like I never thought that was possible, because who's done that? Like there's no fat Black Muslim who's done that. Like I am the first one. And so like, if you don't see it, then it's not possible. Right. And so,
well, and again, it's that 3 categories, right? Because there's few fat women who've done it. There's few Black women who've done it. There's few Muslim women who've done it, right, individually in those categories. So when you got all 3, then it's the even bigger accomplishment. But if you've been any one of the 3 things, it still would have been a rare accomplishment, right?
Sure.
Is there one that has been, I'm not trying to ask you to like choose between identities, but is there one are there areas of your life where one makes things easier or harder than the others?
I mean, I think in life, there are these like ups and downs, right? Like you might get hella hate for one and not so much the other. But I think if we talk about like social media trolls and stuff, what I've gotten the most hate on the internet would be me being fat. Yeah, which is really interesting. It's like I have all these other things, and the first thing, I'd like not say I haven't got attacked by being Black or I haven't experienced microaggressions, but the most stuff people have like tried to troll me on and tried to harass me about is me being fat. That's the first thing they see. Which is why I talk a lot about fatphobia. People are like, oh, it's not that serious. Like, it's 2020. What the fuck does it being 2020 have to do with y'all still being fatphobic? Like, that's what the fuck does 20, like, and so when I go off on people on the internet, people are like, oh my God, Leah V she's such a bitch. She's so hardcore. Because you guys come and say stupid stuff to me every day and expect me to be like, what? Like your mammy or something? Like, it's a whole nother world. This is a whole different generation. Like, we're not playing with y'all no more. When we see it, we're gonna call it out. And so people are still living in the dark ages where they want you to play, you know, the good fatty who's drinking Diet Coke and eating salads to appease you bitches. No, I'm going to eat my meal and then cuss you out. That's it. So,
and if you want to see videos of that, Leah has a lot of fun videos on her YouTube where she's reenacted some of the stupid things that people say to her, or where she is reading like the tweets. It's sort of like the you know, when people read their terrible tweets and then react to them, where she's reading troll comments and reacting as though the person was in front of her. And you should check them out. It's Leah Vernon, right? Your YouTube channel is called Leah Vernon, I think.
I think it's Leah Vernon or L Vernon 20. If you Google Leah Vernon, it'll pop up.
Yeah, it'll come up.
It's like old stuff. I haven't really done any like new stuff, but those are still enjoyable.
Oldies but goodies, because I mean, I've been there, you know, I've been there. And it's, do you have favorite troll comments? Like for me, I have like, my favorite ones are the ones where they tell me I'm gonna die by the time I'm 30 because I'm 46. And so I'm like, gotcha, you know. I love those a lot. I love the ones where they just say like cow, or you mentioned cow specifically, that somebody just put a cow emoji under, and you were like, what am I supposed to do to this? And I think I don't know if you personally know Jess Baker, but I love, she just called her book land whale, like just go ahead then, you know. Do you have favorites?
I think the one is definitely the cow emojis, the whale emojis. Just simply they'll put that on there. The vomit emojis, because they're vomiting from looking at me. I'm just like, who does that? It's so interesting because I was talking about this, like, you know, the comments and stuff last week, and I was just like, oh, do fat people like go and harass straight size people? Like, you don't see us on there on like, I don't know, Kendall Jenner's like picture when she's like super thin and you see her ribs. Like, oh my God, her ribs are showing. She's so disgusting. Like, we're not harassing straight size or very thin people. So I'm wondering like why do people feel the need to do it to us? It's like, if you don't want to be fat, you want to do weight loss, you want to do surgeries, I'm all for personal choice. But why are you coming over here and bothering me on my choice to do what I want to do at this moment? Like, well, it's mind-boggling.
I think the other thing that's always really important to add to the framing of that discussion is that even when somebody does go to whatever Kardashian or celebrity, or like people, all these people who are going to, you know, Adele lost weight and we think she looks too thin or whatever, that when people talk about the idea of like thin shaming or hurting people's feelings for being too thin, that the context in which that happens is a completely different societal context. So it's not that that's not a bad thing to, it's don't shame people's bodies, period. But also, let us remember that the framing is thin people have privilege in the culture and fat people have actual civil rights disadvantages in the culture, right? Not just, do people put vomit emojis on our pictures when we are on the internet? That's important, and like it wastes our time and it's annoying and all that other stuff, but also medical discrimination, job discrimination, discrimination in things like parental rights in legal cases, like these things that are these, and these are the kinds of things that we do as NAAFA, like we work on as NAAFA. So I'm particularly attentive to that. And people forget that like if Kylie Jenner gets like, oh, that girl is too skinny, that's what she got, and that's the end of it. And if you get, oh, I hope that fat bitch dies, then you might actually die because your doctor might actually not treat you. So it's a very different situation. So, and then I descend from my soapbox to ask you this question from the chat. You mentioned that your memoir started as a way for you to work out the traumas, specifically the divorce in your life. Did it help? Was it healing? Would you recommend it as a way to process one's own trauma?
Oh, good question. So I am a writer, like by heart. Before the modeling, influencing, and the commercials and all this stuff, I was a writer. Just, you know, little baby watching LeVar Burton, have a little crush on him. He's reading books. I'm like, I want to be like him when I get older. Like, you know, that was me, like a little nerdy girl at the library, no father, you know. So reading and writing saved me, and it saves me every day, and which is why I write and read every day, because it saves me. It is a part of my soul. And so I think that you have to find what your thing is first. Everyone's not a writer. Everyone doesn't find grace and find closure or feel good in writing. Like my one friend, she's more visual. So she's like, I don't really like writing. That's not my strong point. And so for her, it wouldn't be writing, right? It would be something else. I feel like if you were into poetry, if you were into journaling, if you're into like doing diaries and stuff like that, it's definitely 100% healing, because a lot of times we hold so much stuff in. We don't we don't have safe spaces to speak on certain issues. Some stuff you're just like, no one's gonna understand it. They're not gonna give me what I need from them. We have all these expectations. And so that's why like I use this saying a lot, like I basically bleed onto pages, because like that is like, that's how serious it is for me, and it's how much healing it is for me to put all that. And even if the book wasn't published, I still would have felt great healing from telling stories that I've never spoken out loud, and putting them down on those pages. So I would definitely recommend, if you are into it and you love writing in words and narrative like me, I would definitely recommend doing it. And you're gonna cry, you're gonna scream, you're gonna take naps. It's gonna tire you out, but the goodness you feel afterwards and the lightness you feel after pouring your heart and soul out onto the page is so amazing. So I would definitely recommend doing it.
So then what is the transfusion for you? If you bleed onto the page and you pour all this stuff out and you give and give and give of yourself to the word, what are some of the other things that you do besides the writing for self-care?
Well, recently I've had an issue with self-care, because I also on the very ridiculous part of me, that other side of me, I call her the drill sergeant, and she has got me to where I am, not gonna lie, because I am very opportunistic in a good way. Like, you don't want the opportunity, then you just give it on, you can give it to me, I'm gonna do 110%, and then get my benefits from it, and then on to the next. So I'm very that person. I'm very driven, like 100%. Like I wouldn't be here if I wasn't driven. Like no one's gonna look at me and talk to me, listen to me, unless I was like, yo, you gotta see me. This is what I can do. Like, boom, I'm there. But so I have an issue with self-care. I have an issue with not working. And because my brand kind of intertwines into my actual life, it's hard for me to turn it off. Also, people are constantly wanting to know things about me, are constantly wanting to like ask about me. And so what I've done recently is, if I'm meeting people or meeting new people, I tell them, like, well, I don't tell them, I'm just like, ask them the questions about their life so I can be quiet and listen to their narrative and their story. Like I have some people who literally meet up with me just so they can hear me talk. And I'm just like, no, baby girl, we're going to talk about you. So I'll just keep asking them questions, and then they forget they want to know about me and start getting into their own story. That's self-care for me, to hear other people's stories. It's weird, but like if it's good or bad, I don't care. I just want to hear your story and like me not talk at all. And so that's self-care for me. Another one is, of course, eating good food. That's also self-care for me. I'm just like the newest restaurants. I want the ambiance. Love traveling. Yeah, and just experiencing new things. Like I went parasailing for my birthday, which I never thought I would be able to do. But like those types of things for me are self-care, and I'm trying to learn how to do more. We'll see how it goes.
Who inspires you?
I think that they always change. Like sometimes I'm inspired by something like so mundane and so little, but I really I'm inspired by Rihanna. Like I know that's like very cliche, but the reason why I'm inspired by Rihanna is because she does stuff and doesn't give a fuck. Like she's like, I'm gonna wear a plastic bag outside and put a belt on it, and then walk with like long ass nails and a glass of wine, and nobody better say shit to me. Like this is her attitude. Like, and it's been like that since even before she was big. And I'm just like, oh my God, she's like an icon. She's like, damn, like, and that's what I aspire to be as like a fat bitch. I'm gonna walk into this room with a badass outfit on and a red lippy, and nobody better say shit to me sideways. And that's it. Like I am that shit. And so I walk into the room like that, and people either take it as, damn, who is she? Or they're like, oh, she's a fucking bitch. either one I'm fine with, but just know, like, I'm centered in myself. And it took a long time to be centered in myself. So people who are very centered, whether it's like low key centered or like high key glam centered, I am so inspired by that, because it takes so much to be that way. There's so many things that are telling us that we're wrong, that we're ugly, that we're this, that we're that. And it's just like, yeah, but what if I'm just like, want to be a bad bitch for 24 hours straight? Like, what does that look like on a low key level? And so like anybody like that, I love Cher. Of course, like all of my fat influencers like Essie Golden, Velvet D'Amour, Jess Baker, just like all the fat babes who are just living their best lives before I came onto the scene, was paving the way for the things we see now. And so I'm definitely inspired by all of them.
So, as somebody who is so outspoken and so unapologetic, do you worry at all about cancel culture? Do you worry that you're going to say the wrong thing and that people are just going to be done with you?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, yes, I always, especially when I was on Facebook way back when, I used to say some foul stuff. And I'm just like, when is this gonna come back and bite me? Because I used to say all types of foul stuff, like not like, I mean, I wouldn't say stuff like that now on the internet, but like, who knows? Somebody might go through it and like look up some stuff from 2010 and be like, oh my God, Leah said this right here. And I was like, I was a baby. I didn't know. And so I'm definitely worried about cancel culture. But I think that I'm open enough to address it. And I hope that I don't say anything too foul that's so just like blind, just ridiculously like blind about a topic, that I would say something like off the wall, because I don't stand for stuff like that. And if I do by mistake or whatever the case may be, that I would have enough integrity to be like, you know what, yeah, that was wrong as hell, and like let's, I am seeking to get educated about this topic. So I would hope not, but you never know. People cancel people over anything now, so I don't know.
It's true. I mean, and and some people need to be canceled, but some people need to have. It's such a difficult balance sometimes of figuring out like where there's room for redemption, like where somebody really legitimately made a mistake or is really operating not from like they ignorant and they stay ignorant, but like truly they did not know.
Sure.
And then that space in between, we're like, okay, they truly didn't know, but why didn't you know by now? Like that, all of that mix of stuff is definitely something that we are working on as an organization, that our membership and our board members are working on as individuals. And then as an organization, we're working on, and we just think about it a lot in terms of, who we look up to in fat community and fat celebrities in particular. And like the piece that you mentioned about people having body autonomy and getting to make the choice they want to make about what they do with their body, but then what that means to the rest of us if they make choices about things like weight loss or weight loss surgery or things that can be harmful to the community or to the, to people's understanding about fat people, health, representation, all of that stuff. So it's, it can be a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, especially like with the weight loss surgery thing, because I've been seeing a lot of influencers either getting it and then lying about it, and saying they just lost weight the natural way, or you're seeing them get it and then shit on fat people who've built their career, or you see some getting it but still being an ally for, women who are fat or folks that are fat. And so it's me and my influencer friends and my other, fat allies, we've been having this conversation like what it means to do it, and how harmful, not harmful it is to lie about, to be open about weight loss surgery. And it's a lot of layers to it. It's a lot of layers. I mean, I get it. But at this point, I probably wouldn't do it. At this point, not to say like 5 years from now, I'm just like, yeah, I'm doing it, because like we all change. But it's the ones who lie about getting it. That's an issue for me. And the ones who shit on fat people after the fact, that's an issue for me. That's what I'm just like, bruh.
The thing about NAAFA is, whatever you did, we are here to fight for the rights of all fat people, right? So even if you did it and then turned around and shit on fat people, we're still here to work for the protection of your rights, even if you have betrayed the community in that way, right? I'm not saying that the weight loss was a betrayal. That's a whole separate thing for people to figure out for themselves. But if you lost weight and then you turned on the community, that is a big betrayal, right? And then we're still going to work for your rights because that's what we do. But it is, you know, but we are still allowed to have feelings about these things because we are all human beings, right? And it's interesting to hear that in the influencer community that, you know, that y'all are talking about these things and the feelings that people have about. I see a lot of that happening online, and, you know, with the model community, with the influencers, you know, there's a lot of overlap there. And that reminds me, we haven't talked much about your modeling. We've been talking about you as an author. You have some new and pretty impressive campaigns recently. Do you want to talk about those? And folks, we just have a few minutes left. So if you have any last questions for Leah, get those in the chat now. Tell us about some of the new campaigns you've been doing as a model.
Yeah. So this earlier last year, I did some work for Target. And it's so interesting because Target, you know, has been doing some really great aggressive campaigning, trying to champion inclusion. You know, Target was not really known for that back in the day at all. They actually didn't even have plus size clothing. And so again, the influencers in that industry was like, boycott Target. And they was like, oh, okay. And they start adding Avi and Viv and a lot of other clothing that goes up to 4X. I'm like, okay, look at you, Target, doing your thing. As you should have originally, but it's okay. And so I auditioned for them like 2 times. They kept saying like, oh, it's not a fit. And I'm just like, my heart. And the 3rd time they're like, get your book. I'm like, ah! So I didn't know that they were going to put my picture on the actual banner in Target along with 2 other girls that I know. And so I didn't know that. And like my followers started like sending me pictures of my face on this banner. I'm just like, oh my God, it's so big. And so that happened. Girl, I started busting out crying. So I'm just like, this is so major. Like, I'm short, you know, I'm fat, like, you know, I'm Muslim, I am older. Well, in the modeling world, I'm considered like older. I mean, mature.
How
a
old
lot
are
of models
you?
are, I'm 33.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of models, like once you hit like late 20s, you're done. And so I was just like, wow. And I started crying. So I'm like, this is so major for me to be, you know, the first fat Black Muslim in a advertisement in Target. And recently I got the storefront of Torrid, which is another company who's trying to do more, trying to do better. I've spoken to these people like, you know, for real, like, yo, this is what needs to happen. And so they are using, trying to use more models than prior to when they were just using like 12 and 14s. I'm not saying they're not using 12 and 14s, but they are trying to diversify their portfolio. So I see, I worked with a 4X model with them before. And then they have me, you know, the hijabi model who's very short. Everyone else is like so statuesque when I'm on set. And so they gave me the storefront and I'm just like, wow, this is for their denim campaign. It was amazing to see.
And it's huge as a plus model, but it's also for both of those companies, correct me if I'm wrong, but for both of those companies, is it the first time that they've had a model in a hijab?
Yes.
That's pretty huge as well, right?
Yeah. So I was like,
and are you often the first plus model or the first model in a hijab or both for the companies that you do visual campaigns for?
Usually, yes. There's a couple that might have used like a straight size white passing hijabi. But usually I'm the first, like, yeah, fat Black hijabi in a lot of these campaigns. And again, like, it's like, I don't think, because I'm living it, I don't think we understand the implications 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now, where I'm going to probably be in history books as the person who did that to pave the way for other people who look like me in the industry. And so right now I'm just like, oh, this is so cool. But historically, like, this is history being made. Like, and if I get more bigger campaigns, like, I have one, I'm being optioned for Maybelline. I don't know if they're going to say yes or not, but they've optioned me to work on some stuff this week. Actually, I haven't gotten a yes or no yet. It might be a no, but it'd be amazing to work for Maybelline. And so they, you know, I'm getting traction. You know, is it fast as like a, you know, like a smaller size white girl who's in the industry? No. But I'm still doing things. And so that makes me feel so good about the future, about like what we're going to start seeing in advertisement.
Well, and imagine 8-year-old Leah V walking past Target and seeing that big. Like, I'm thinking about, like, when I reading your book, one of the things that, spoiler alert, one of the things that was most moving / heartbreaking to me was the part in your book where you talk about your dad taking his other family to the amusement park and telling you that you can't go because what he tells you is, I can't take you to the amusement park because your hijab will get caught in the rides, right? Yeah. Imagine that little girl who's being told that by one of the people in her life who's supposed to be one of her biggest supporters, walking past Target and seeing a billboard of Leah V.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That is
huge.
True. I know. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, we can do a whole show on daddies. Girl.
Yeah, he definitely did a number on me, fortunately. So.
Well, I don't want to end on that note. I do want people to read your book, and I want people to see how you survived those experiences and learn all the other pieces of Leah V, the human, not just the brand. And again, you know, even if you are not in the Phoenix area, I'm going to give a shout out once again to where I got the book, at Palabras Bookstore in the Phoenix area, because they have been a huge supporter of fat community in Phoenix. I work with my partner here, Red Street Girl, and the Phoenix Fat Force to do events at Palabras. Even though no one there is fat, they support all of our events, and you can order this book through them online, or support one of your favorite Black-owned or POC bookstores to order the book. And Leah, I always end by asking if there is anything that I did not ask you about that you really want to make sure that you share or that people know.
I think I'll leave you guys a little Leah V knowledge, is that you really have to, I think we don't understand the power of representation and the power of energy, like energies. And so like it hurts my heart when I see like a plus size woman, fat, thick, with 2 C's, whatever you want to call it, obese, whatever. And I see them and I don't know them, but I see that they're hurting, and that society has made them want to hide in the corner, or like make themselves smaller. And when I see like a fat woman or like a fat person, and they're just like, you can just see that they're just like, they're good. Like, can't nobody tell them nothing. They're good. They're confident that they're feeling good. They're looking good. They're like, it's an energy. And like, I love seeing that. And I'd be like I always make sure that I, you know, because like we're all we got. And so it's our duty as a community to make sure that we're uplifting each other, even if it's a smile or like, you know, hit him with one of those. Like, I don't like we have to do that with each other, because people have done that with me, and it's made me feel so much better. But like to my fat folk, like we really need to work on taking up space. I know it's easier said than done, but we have to work on taking up space, because people are going to automatically think that like, oh, she's going to be over there in a corner because that's what all of the other fatties have done before her. You know what I mean? Like, surprise them. Like, take up fucking space. Like, you can't fit in one chair, take 2 fucking chairs. Like, take up space. And I feel like that's an issue that a lot of us have, unfortunately, is that we don't want to take up too much space. But it's like, the world is here for our taking. Take the fucking space. Take it up. Take all of it up, actually.
Yes. I'm not going to ask anything else there, because I want that to be the line that resonates with folks. Thank you so much once again for being here. A reminder, everyone, that you can find Leah online at, say your social media handles.
Instagram at lvernon2000, or you can hit me up on my website, which is leahvernon.com.
And please do support Leah in her work. If you're able to do that financially, please do. Otherwise, do it through lots of love and clicks and likes and thumbs up and heart emojis and all the things. And please do join us next time, again, October 15th with NAAFA founder Bill Fabry, and at the end of the month on October 24th with author Joy Cox. Shout out to Joy, who is with us today and who I have to thank for being one of the best supporters of the NAAFA webinar series. More than anybody I've ever had as an upcoming guest has supported other people's webinars as she's been waiting for hers to come up. So thank you, Dr. Joy, for that. Thank you all for being with us today, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much, Leah.
Bye.